Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10 and support the channel at the same time. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. It's another big episode with a lot of cards spiking, some from Standard, Modern, some Legacy Vintage cards, Commander, they're all over the place. Without any further ado, let's get right into it. We'll begin as we always do with the top 5 Standard legal cards that have lost value this week. Coming in at number 5. Nexus of Fate, the Magic 2019 Buy a Box promo. This can only be found in foil. It goes down 96 cents this week to $23.23. Even though it is losing value, the card's still doing great in Standard. Look at the Star City Games Classic last weekend. Simic Nexus came in 1st and 7th place in that tournament. And there are other variants of the deck still doing well in Standard occasionally too, although Simic does appear to be the one that is dominant right now. Also, over in Modern, this card sees a little bit of play, typically one-ofs, but there is a new deck, Sultai Teaching Reclamation, that runs this, and there are a lot of people hoping that deck can put up a good result soon. Number 4, Hydroid Crisis goes down $1 to $33.99. Again, a card that is still performing extremely well in the Standard format, but it does have a very high price point, and as more packs get open, there's more copies out there for people to get their hands on. Other than the Simic Nexus decks that I mentioned coming in 1st and 7th, Sultai Midrange also came in 2nd and 4th in that same tournament, so 4 of the top 8 decks in that tournament were running Hydroid Crisis. Number 3, Prime Speaker Vannifar goes down $1.12 to $9.17. You know, every week that Modern Vannifar deck doesn't get there in a major tournament is another week that more people fall off when it comes to this build, and that's what you're seeing here. I said before I'm skeptical about that deck, but it is a powerful deck. If it could get there, it would be amazing. I'd love to see diversity in the format, but right now it just doesn't feel like it's breaking through, and because of that, the card is losing value. However, because of Commander, it is still a $9 card. Number 2 is Carnage Tyrant, down $1.16 to $24. This is going to lose more value. Carnage Tyrant has not disappeared from the format. Occasionally, you'll see these in Sultai midrange decks. Sometimes a copy in the main, sometimes a copy in the sideboard, but many times it's actually absent altogether. Because of that, it just can't hold this $24 price tag. What about Modern? Is it doing anything good there? Modern Titan Shift decks will run a copy out of the sideboard many times, but again, not enough to keep this price up to this level. Number 1, Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, goes down $1.80 to $46. And here's another case of a card that just has a really high price point. I'm not too surprised to see it normalizing. And when you look at the amount of play Teferi's seeing right now in the Standard format, it's still pretty heavy, but it is less when you compare it to the last couple seasons. So it does stand to reason this will lose a little more value. But here's what Teferi does have going on right now. Not only is this a great card in Esper Control, which feels like the dominant control build right now in the format, but other control builds are going to run this. And when it comes to Nexus decks, this card is in some of those, but not in the more dominant Simic Nexus build. What about Modern though? Teferi still sees a lot of play in Modern in those control builds, even a little legacy play in Azoria Stoneblade. Alright, let's move on to the top 5 Standard legal cards that have gained value this week, but I do have one honorable mention, and that is Siren Stormtamer. It's an uncommon, but it is still going up 67 cents this week to $3.74, and you know why. This is part of the deck that won the Mythic Championship, that mono blue aggro or tempo deck, whatever you want to call it. What has that deck done lately, though? Well, it did good last weekend at the Star City Games Classic, coming in 8th place. Number 5, another card from that deck, it's Tempest Djinn, up 68 cents to $3.80. Number 4 is Blood Crypt from Dissension, which, of course, this was reprinted in Ravnica Allegiance, which is why it is Standard legal, but this copy is going up $1.09 to $24.99. Now, not only is this a good Standard card in mana bases, you'll find this in Rakdos Midrange or Rakdos Aggro decks. Also, the Izzet Phoenix decks many times will play one copy of this just so they can play the second half of Discovery and Dispersal if they want to. You're seeing that more and more nowadays. But where this card really shines is Modern. It's in some huge decks like Dredge, Grixis Death Shadow, Jund, Hollow One, and more. Number 3 is the Immortal Sun, up $2.35 to $18.97. Now this will see a little bit of Standard play here or there. Sometimes you'll find a couple copies in the sideboard of a Gruul aggro deck, for example. However, that's not the reason this card's going up in value this week. It's all about War of the Spark. Wizards gave us more information about the set yesterday, and I did a video on it. I'll link it at the end of this one in case you missed it. But long story short, there's going to be a lot of Planeswalkers in that new set. In fact, we'll get a Planeswalker in every booster pack. So with all these new Planeswalkers entering Standard and other formats, people need ways to defend themselves, and this is a key one right now. This will go up more before it normalizes because we're seeing just the beginning of the hype around this set now. Number 2 is Arclight Phoenix, up 340 to $29.99. This is a great standard card, obviously, in Izzet Phoenix, but this is a fantastic card in Modern, and the reason it's going up as much as it is this week is because of the performance last week at the Star City Games Modern Classic. First and 8th place, we found an Izzet Phoenix deck there. There's other varieties of those decks in Modern too that have done well in the past. And even in Legacy, there's a Grixis Phoenix deck that came in 10th place in the Legacy Open. So this is definitely a card that has more momentum behind it now than ever. And I do think it will go up a little more before it stabilizes. Number 1, Mox Amber. Yep, you heard me right. Mox Amber goes up $6.24 to $19.99. And the reason for this is simple. Again, it's War of the Spark. The speculation being we're getting a bunch of these Planeswalkers, which of course, Legendary Planeswalkers make this card better. If we could get a good cheap one in Standard, or maybe even for other formats, then this card just stands to get better than it is today. Because of that, it has a huge price jump. Alright, let's move on to Modern. The top 5 Modern legal cards that have lost value this week. Number 5 is Liliana of the Veil from Innistrad, down $1.50 to $80.86. This card is still trying to find its price point based off the reprinting we saw in Ultimate Masters and Mythic. But with that being said, the card is still doing amazing right now in Modern. You'll find this many times as a sideboard card in Grixis Death Shadow. This is a key part of Jund, Golgari Midrange, and other Modern and Legacy decks too. Number 4, Azusa Lost But Seeking, goes down $1.84 to $38.37. This is the one from Champions of Kamigawa. This card got super hot a few weeks ago as Amulet Titan began to gain momentum in the Modern format, even though it was always a pretty good deck, but especially with the banning of KCI, a lot of people started to gravitate towards that build. The card spiked. Now we're seeing the normalization off the back of that spike. Not too surprising, and the deck is still doing very well. Number 3, Getic T from Lorwyn, goes down $1.97 to $17.07, and of course, this got really inflated until it finally got a reprint in Ultimate Masters as a rare. And then the price came way down, and I do think it's going to still come down a little more before it reaches stabilization. Now, the reason the price point was so high is because it was seeing a lot of important play, but of course, Lorwyn, I'm going to use my one per video, had a lower print run compared to other Modern era Magic sets generally, so that meant the card just got inflated really quickly. This sees play in big sideboards like Humans and Hexproof in Modern. Legacy, you'll find one of these typically in the main of 4-color Loam and Maverick, and this will show up in other decks too. Number 2, Crater Hoof Behemoth from Avacyn Restored, down $2.19 to $36.50. And again, we see a card that is starting to come off a spike a little bit, so there is some normalization here. This card got really hot recently, mostly because of Prime Speaker Vannifar Commander decks. A lot of people picking this up for those. This is also good with Nikki of the Old Ways in that format, and also you can find this in Legacy in the Elf deck. 2 copies of this were in the main in the deck that came in 4th place in the Star City Games Legacy Classic this past weekend. Number 1 is Horizon Canopy, down $2.49 to $76.91. This is the Future Sight variant of the card, so it's got that unique card frame, the unique art. A lot of players typically gravitate towards this one. Why is it so soft right now? Well, simply because the meta in Modern is shifting pretty heavily. Some of the decks that run this, that are still good decks and can still put up good results, aren't doing as well as they were doing. Things like Bad Spirits, Hardened Scales Affinity, Humans, Hexproof. These are still very good decks, don't get me wrong. But the spotlight right now are in things like Grixis Death Shadow, Dredge, Izzet Phoenix, and none of those decks obviously run Horizon Canopy. Alright, time for the top 10. Yep, we're doing 10 again because there's so much happening. Top 10 Modern legal cards that have gained value this week. Number 10, Raking Canopy from Shadowmoor. This is an uncommon, but again, it's from that era of the lower print run, going up $2.90 to $3.99. Why is this one jumping? Corbin Hostler featured a mono-green midrange / control build in an article for TCG Player, and that build ran 2 of these out of the sideboard. Before that, it was kind of an obscure card, but since then I have seen it making its rounds on Magic Online. With the extra attention on the card, it does spike this week. Number 9, Sword of Fire and Ice from Darksteel, goes up $3.42 to $56.42. Probably not a coincidence that this card is going up after a Legacy Open from Star City Games as well as a Classic last weekend. It's usually a one-of, but this card is in some big decks like Death and Taxes, Maverick, and others. Number 8 is Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger. It goes up $4.27 this week to $29.25. What is the deal with this? Okay, a couple things. First off, Ulamog does see a lot of play in Modern Tron builds and Legacy Eldrazi builds. It's a solid card just generally in the world of Modern and Legacy right now. However, there is another catalyst here. If you happen to catch the Game Nights episode last week, the deck that won was a colorless commander deck running a lot of Eldrazi's among other things, so this is a card that was featured in that episode. Because of that, it brought some more attention to it. This is not the only colorless card that's spiking this week because of that. And here's another one coming in at number 7. Ugin the Spirit Dragon goes up $4.30 to $59.99. This was also featured in that same deck on Game Nights. But also, like the last card, it's a very solid card in Modern and Legacy. Modern Tron builds, you'll also find this many times in Titan Breach. And Legacy Eldrazi builds will use this as well. Number 6 is Scalding Tarn. 2 copies. Zendikar goes up $366 to $99.99. Modern Masters 2017 goes up $462 to $101.84. Wow, okay. That one actually broke the $100 mark. We've been talking about the enemy fetch lands every week, and we're going to be talking about another one in just a few moments. But generally, Scalding Tarn is just in a lot of important decks. Is it Phoenix, Burn, Grixis Death Shadow, other Modern, Legacy, and Vintage builds too? But the real story here is just the fact that now that we know Modern Horizons is not going to reprint these cards because they're only reprinting cards that are not currently Modern legal, well, these stand to maybe go up a little more before everything normalizes. But really, it all comes down to the availability. The Ally fetch lands got a reprinting in Khans of Tarkir. They're going up in value, but not at the same pace. The enemy ones, especially the ones that give you blue, are hot right now because there aren't as many of them available. The Modern Masters 2017 reprinting did get more into the marketplace, but it's not the same as reprinting it in a standard set. These are cards that a lot of players want, but they are getting harder and harder to find in good condition in the marketplace due to the lower quantities and the high demand. Number 5, Gemstone Caverns goes up $5.97 this week to $33.14. We saw this card on our list last week as well. It's actually in a lot of important Modern decks right now, including Colorless Eldrazi, Freewind Red, Living End, and others. However, the reason it's currently spiking is the London Mulligan test coming up in the next Mythic Championship. If that does become the Mulligan that is adopted going forward, this card does get better. Number 4, the Chain Veil goes up $6.05 this week to $22.79, and of course this has to do with the new Planeswalkers coming with War of the Spark, especially for Commander. A lot of players are going to want to pick up this card. Number 3, Jace the Mind Sculptor from Eternal Masters this time goes up $6.53 to $115. So this card has been pretty hot. I mean, all the Jaces have been going up. It feels like kind of one at a time every week, but ever since the Masters 25 reprinting, they were a little stagnant. And those days are definitely over. This card sees a lot of play, and we don't know when it's going to be reprinted, but we do know it won't be in Modern Horizons. And of course, you'll find this in Modern and Legacy Control builds, decks like Legacy Miracles, other Modern, Legacy, Vintage builds. Also a great Commander card, too. Number 2, another huge spike coming from Surgical Extraction. New Phyrexia goes up $13.12 to $71. Modern Masters 2015 up $15.98 this week to $67.85. What is happening now? Well, again, Dredge is really good in the Modern format. Phoenix is really good in the Modern format. You're seeing more of these show up also in Legacy. But remember, with the London Mulligan rule, if that does get adopted, Dredge gets better, and then this card becomes even more essential, perhaps. Because of that, we see another big spike. Number 1 is another enemy fetch land, Misty Rainforest. Zendikar goes up $15.70 this week to $71.99. Modern Masters 2017 going up $24.42 this week to $82.30. And I'll tell you, it's moving so fast, I had to adjust this slide in the middle of making the video. It's going up as we speak, so it could be higher by the time you see this. Who knows? These cards are insane. All the same reasons that, of course, Scalding Tarn are going up. This one sees play in Bant Spirits, Legacy Miracles, Grixis Delver, and many other Modern, Legacy, and Vintage decks. Alright, let's move on to our Vintage Spotlight. This is where we look at cards that see play in formats like Legacy, or Vintage, or even 93-94. Also, we'll look at cards that are relevant to collectors here. First, we have Force of Will from Eternal Masters going up $4.13 this week to $104.49. Well, this is a solid card for Legacy and Vintage, but part of the reason this is going up is because of Modern Horizon speculation. Will they reprint Force of Will in that set and make it Modern legal? Well, maybe, maybe not, but people are going to gamble on it, and that's what you're seeing here. Next, we have Sylvan Library. Legends going up 515 to 118.43. Eternal Masters going up 521 to 39.67. Again, we have a situation that there is a card that maybe could show up in Modern Horizons. People are starting to try to get ahead of that and pick up these copies. The thing you got to remember, though, is if the card is announced in the set, there will be a fever for these older cards for a little bit. But then once the packs come out, people are going to be more than happy a lot of times to buy the newer card at a cheaper price. So there is a small window, even if this does work out. So this is a gamble in some ways. But with that being said, is Sylvan Library a bad card? No, of course not. It sees a lot of legacy play in decks like Golgari Depths, 4-color Loam, Maverick, Lands, and more. Next we have Baleful Strix. A lot of copies of this card got hot this week. Now it's a good legacy card again. Grixis Control, Dimir Death Shadow, many other decks would love to play this. As a matter of fact, there was a deck featured on MTG Goldfish this week, which was a Legacy World Gorger deck running this card. So there's always attention on it. But why is it spiking like this? Again, it's more gambling. It's people thinking that maybe it's going to show up in Modern Horizons becoming Modern Legal. And even though this has been reprinted a lot of times, it's coming from some products that have rather low print runs. So because of that, the card is getting a little spiky right now. Commander 2016 going up 790 to 1304. Plane Chase Anthology going up 1014 to 1499. Commander 2013 meets it at 1499 going up 1050. Oh wait, there's more. Arch Enemy Nicol Bolas goes up 473 to 919. Eternal Masters goes up 559 to 1039. So I didn't include every copy of this card here. These were the ones that were moving the most. However, all copies of this card are moving at least a little bit. Okay, on to an unlimited card. No surprise, these have been very hot. Mana Flare goes up $11.99 to $69.99 this week. Strip Mine from Antiquities. This is the Uneven Horizon variant. Goes up again this week, $12.61 to $110. Time Vault from Unlimited, of course, this is on the reserve list, going up $154.99 this week to $1,117.54. Mostly this is going up because there's higher grade copies on sale this week. Same reason Volcanic Island is going up. This is the one from Unlimited, also on the reserve list, but it did get reprinted and revised. This goes up $200.14 to $1,209. Time Walk, another Unlimited card that's on the reserve list, goes up $358.05 this week to $2,547.50. Now, this one does look like there's a little manipulation behind it, or at least somebody putting up some copies at very high prices hoping to take an offer. Also, though, there are some near mint copies and a graded copy out there too. All of those are factors for this price bumping this week. One last Unlimited card on the reserve list, it's Mox Sapphire, going up $482.51 this week to $2,999.99. There's not a lot of copies of this out there right now in the marketplace, which is why it is moving a little bit dramatically, but it doesn't appear to be market manipulation or anything like that. I actually think this card could go up a little more if there were more lightly played or near mint copies to show up in the future in the marketplace. Again, we bring you another huge Commander spotlight this week. Tons of cards going up in value. I'm just going to give you the main bullet point, and we're going to go through these real quick. Kozilek Butcher of Truth from Rise of the Eldrazi, up $1.05 to $31.42. This is a colorless card. A lot of people trying to build Eldrazi or colorless Commander decks ever since that Game Nights episode. This can also occasionally show up in a Legacy Eldrazi post deck. Kozilek the Great Distortion goes up $1.06 to $7.75. This was actually the commander of that deck that I've been talking about. And again, another card that you'll usually find in Eldrazi post decks and Legacy, but really it's moving this week because of commander. Karlov of the Ghost Council, up $1.08 to $13. No, we haven't found all of the cards yet that fit into the Teysa deck. It feels like there's a new one every week, but here's another one for that deck. Wormcoil Engine from Commander 2014. This does see play in Modern Tron and Eldrazi builds, as well as Legacy Eldrazi Post and Vintage Ravager shops, but notice it is another colorless card going up this week. Seedborn Muse from Battlebond goes up $1.13 to $8.73. This card's gotten hot recently with Wilderness Reclamation being added to the format, but it's just generally a great commander card. We'll keep the colorless train going with Blightsteel Colossus going up $1.14 to $44.16. Cyclonic Rift, 2 copies here. Modern Masters 2017 goes up $1.01 to $20.40. Commander 2014 going up $1.15 to $20.49. Now this does see a little modern play many times in Mono Blue Tron. However, this is another Commander staple, which they did mention yet again in this week's Command Zone podcast. Sword of Light and Shadow from Dark Steel goes up $1.16 to $28.13. Another card that plays well with Teysa Karlov, but also can see some legacy play in Maverick as well as Hate Bears. Arena Rector goes up $1.21 to $16.09. How else are you going to find all your shiny new War of the Spark Planeswalkers? Staff of Domination from Fifth Dawn goes up $1.32 to $33.65. This works well with Prime Speaker Vannifar. Toxic Deluge from Commander 2013. This is going up $1.35 to $24.09. This was also featured in the Command Zone podcast this week, and it also sees legacy play in a lot of control builds. Riku of Two Reflections, another card that plays well with Prime Speaker Vannifar, goes up $1.42 to $14.95. Ulamog, the Infinite Gyre from Rise of the Eldrazi, up $1.44 to $25.58. Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, and this one were actually reprinted in Ultimate Masters, but even with those reprintings, that Game Nights episode is just pushing these colorless cards. Doubling Season, Modern Masters goes up $1.10 to $41.94. Battle Bond goes up $1.59 to $39.99. Watch out for this card. It is ready to spike again, I think. Not only did it get mentioned again in the Command Zone podcast this week, but it also plays really well with Planeswalkers, and War of the Spark is incoming. Linvala, Keeper of Silence from Rise of the Eldrazi, goes up $1.65 to $19.89 this week. This plays well with Lavinia, Azorius Renegade, and Commander, and also you can find this in the sideboard of those Vannifar Modern builds. One of those decks was featured on MTG Goldfish this week too. Mirari's Wake from Commander 2017. This goes up $1.67 to $14.83. This is another card you might want to keep an eye on. It plays well with Wilderness Reclamation too. It can be awkward at times, but also does work with Nikki of the Old Ways. And this was featured on not only Game Nights, but also the Command Zone podcast this past week. Deep Glow Skate from Commander 2016 goes up $1.86 to $10.87. The Anthology one's going up a little bit too, but this one is moving a lot more. As you can imagine, this is due to War of the Spark, another card that's going to play well with Planeswalkers. Bloom Tender goes up $1.86 to $40.84. Another card that had a lower print run, this time from Eventide. And this is just a great Commander card. Plays well with Nikki of the Old Ways. Ravos Soul Tender is back on our list again today, up $1.92 to $13.25. This is from Commander 2016, can only be found in foil, and it does fit into Teysa Karlov builds. Teferi Temporal Archmage goes up $1.97 to $19.99. This card has gotten hot recently due to Persistent Petitioners and Prime Speaker Vannifar. Mana Crypt, the original media promo, goes up $2 to $171.99. Not a huge increase here, but I wanted to check in on this card due to how hot the Eternal Masters copy has been recently. Great card for Commander as well as Vintage. Vidalcan Orrery goes up $202 to $23.99. This is the one from Conspiracy. Another card that works great with Wilderness Reclamation, and another card that was also on the Game Nights episode. Transmute Artifact, this one is on the reserve list, going up $248 this week to $164.98. Really solid Commander card, but it is a little bit pricey. If you're lucky enough to have it, though, it can do some cool things. Teferi's Protection, this card continues to be hot, going up $327 this week to $38.99. This card was also featured on Game Nights and the Command Zone recently. Vampiric Tutor, this time it's the Eternal Masters copy, going up $331 to $61.49. Another great Commander Tutor, also great in Vintage. Last Chance, 2 copies, Portal goes up $1.01 to $9.99. Starter $19.99 goes up $4.26 to $8.75. Another interesting Commander card, not something you see a whole lot of, but I do see people try to build these decks with other ways to take extra turns, like Chance for Glory and Final Fortune, and then they throw in some of those end turn effects. It's kind of interesting. Sarah's Sanctum, another reserve list card, this one going up $4.28 to $121.60. It is expensive, but it is pretty cool in enchantment-based decks if you happen to have a copy. Selvala, Heart of the Wilds. This card just keeps spiking, going up $8.87 to $44.99 this week. Another card that plays well with Nikki of the Old Ways, and another card that also was mentioned in that Command Zone podcast this past week. Alright, let's move on to our premium spotlight. You know, if you watch these videos, I don't like to spend too much time on foils because the data can be very skewed, very misleading sometimes, easy to manipulate. We saw some of that last week. Just one card to look at today, though. This one isn't too extreme, so it felt a little safer. Oath of Teferi, this is the foil from Dominaria, going up $6.86 this week to $12.70. And another card moving because of War of the Spark. Wow, okay, that concludes the Market Watch. Tons going on, as you can see. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, it might be a good time to do so you can keep up with all this information. It just feels like the market never stops nowadays. And I do this video every Saturday. I'll do other Market Watch videos and other content throughout the week as well. Hey, but until next time, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page, as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.